Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Arseholics podcast. It's the 27th of February, Sunday night. We played a few games ago, a few days ago on Thursday. So it's been a few days since then. And we didn't record after the Brentford game. So I apologize for this hiatus to all our loyal fans. But yeah, it's been a little bit busy, but let's get into it. I'm in a pretty good place at the moment. I've been drinking for pretty much most of the day. So I'm going to try and be more entertaining than usual. Might not be intentional. It's just probably the alcohol, right? But Mize is with me today. Hello, Mize.
Hello, Raj. You all right, mate?
I'm good. Have you also been drinking today?
I haven't, mate. I've not had that kind of day, unfortunately. I've had pretty much the opposite kind of day where I've been doing house chores and errands and cleaning and stuff. So, yeah, I'll try and keep it as lively as possible.
You're going to have to keep it on energy level. I'm actually still drinking now. I've got whiskey with me right now. What am I drinking? I'm drinking a nice Australian whiskey. So maybe I should make this a feature of our pods, right?
We should.
Let's introduce the whiskey that I'm drinking. So right, I'm drinking a whiskey called Starward Fortis.
Do you want to put the bottle up on?
Yeah, I can put the bottle up if anyone can see this. If you are tuning in there, there's an interesting Australian whiskey. I've never actually had Australian whiskey until this bottle, but matured in red wine barrels. It's actually really, really nice, pretty good actually. So that's my whiskey of choice for this session.
You should bring a bottle to the next game, mate.
Yeah, I mean, we've thought about that before, haven't we? It's never really worked out.
But some people in our group coming up with bad ideas.
No, it is true, like you. Anyway, in joke aside, we had good cause to get absolutely hammered on Thursday night, though, didn't we? Like in theory, everything was magically set up for like a night on the lash. Like it's winning in the 96th minute, beating a top four rival in the tightest top four chase that I can remember. It was certainly the amount of teams involved is so much more, I think, than it's ever been. Winning a game like that, I mean, the Emirates was absolutely magnificent on Thursday. It was amazing. It was I don't know whether it sort of felt like we hadn't played in a while. I mean, our Brentford game, was the Brentford game on the weekend? Had we had an extra?
It was yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was Saturday and then Thursday. Yeah.
So fair enough. But it felt like, I think, maybe actually what I'm getting at here is this feeling of the fans who are in the games regularly. I think we're all desperate to get back in the stadium every week, every game. It's this great energy that you feel getting into the ground and in the ground itself. I mean, this game also, it came on the back of two very, very important victories, right, in the context of our season, beating Wolves away, then following up with a win at Brentford, a team that beat us on the opening day of the season, as we all know. And I think many fans before the game, Mize, when I think everyone's trying to be a bit cautious, sort of saying, what, we've already beaten Wolves, take a draw. Wolves are a good side. But seriously, before we get onto the reflections of the result itself, I think that regardless of whether there was any anxiety from the fans going into this game, the support was magnificent from the start, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's been like that. We've talked about it, right? It's been like that for pretty much the whole season. Even when you go back to the Chelsea game and you saw the fans at City away going 5-0 down, they were still singing and backing the team. And yeah, it's the fans have been fantastic this season, and they were, like you say, you put it really well. They were really, really good. We were really, really good on Thursday, even after going 1-0 down early on. Everyone got behind the team, and yeah, it was just like we sit in the North Bank, so generally sort of 95% of the games, the second half, Arsenal will be attacking towards our end. There's the odd game where the coin toss doesn't go our way, and they switch ends. But so normally it's like us in the North Bank kind of trying to suck the ball into the goal, into the net, as it were, and trying to push the players as much as we can. And you could definitely feel it in the North Bank, like the chants of singing, the noise. And it obviously helped that we got the equalizer in the 83rd, 84th minute, something like that. So from that point on, the crowd were, willing the team even more. And I think it also helped I say it helped. It didn't help in the context of the game, but it helped the crowd, like the passion from the crowd, just because of the time wasting tactics and tricks that Wolves were trying to put on, and the fact that the referee, who was it? I can't remember who it was now. It wasn't Atwell, was it? No.
I want to say it's Martin Atkinson, but
Martin Atkinson. Yeah, I think you're right.
Correct me.
No, I think you're right. The time wasting was the fact that the referee didn't do anything about it. Sorry. Just, again, it's one of those things. It's just a typical that typical kind of thing where the fans are then rallying behind the team even more, rallying against the referee, against the opposition. Completely agree. Like the atmosphere, like you said, Raj, has been really, really good this season, and was probably along with the North London derby. I'd probably say that was the best atmosphere this season so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. And I think, like you said, the story of the game often can affect, how the fans kind of go into this, I guess, ascendancy of volume and energy as the game goes on. And that's exactly what happened, because, let's talk about this time wasting thing, because maybe we need to put some context around it, right? Wolves are an incredibly organized team who have been a fantastic team this season. Bruno Lage, for the short time that he has been there, has built on the foundations that Nuno had set previously, and seemingly not changed too much, still made them sort of very, very hard to beat. And actually just seems in some ways to have just put a few small tweaks in that seem to make a really big difference. And ultimately they are incredibly defensively solid still, but seem like a team who always have a plan and are always very in tune. Now, it was interesting, I think, because I don't think Wolves, because Bruno Lage and Arteta seem similar in the way that I reckon they would have planned this game out in their head. They would have kind of every detail. I don't think Wolves thought in a million years that they were going to go 1-0 up so early. And how do you think, therefore, that affected things? Because I must admit, I think, reflecting on the game, conceding so early was probably the worst thing that could happen to Wolves in that game.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it in that way, because you're right. It probably didn't change our game plan all that much. Being the home team, we absolutely had to go and try and win the game. And as you said, right at the top of the episode, a lot of fans were not that confident. I wasn't that confident. I predicted a draw. I think I predicted a 1-1. I thought it'd be one of those games where there wouldn't be many chances. Wolves would probably nick a goal. And we might struggle. And I think I said to you right before the game, it might be one of those games where a lack of a sort of top class striker might cost us a little bit. It's funny that how the game ended up with Lacazette scoring the winner. But like I said, I don't think it necessarily changed our game plan too much. And I think, it, like you say, it kind of played into our hands a little bit, because it meant that Wolves just naturally sat off, holding on to that 1-0 as long as they could. And I guess the longer the game goes on, we dominated possession. We probably, we would have really essentially tired them out. I mean, I noticed in the first half, I don't know if you noticed it, but like Ødegaard for the first 20-30 minutes was pretty quiet. A little. It was kind of quiet, more quiet than normal. I didn't feel like he was getting as many touches of the ball as he normally would and dictating the play. And I felt like Moutinho was doing a really good job on him. And as the game went on, and we got into the second stage of that first half, and obviously the second half, he just like took over, and he just completely ran the game like he started doing a lot this season and a lot recently. Like the more the ball that we had, I feel like we were, like I said, very, very dominant, started creating chances. And I think them going 1-0 up. To be fair to them, though, they did have some other chances.
Yeah, they did.
And there were some like kind of dodgy moments. But they probably, like, they had one in the first half after they went 1-0 up, obviously, where their striker, I've forgotten his name, the guy who scored the goal.
Juan,
I think it is. Yeah. He hit one past the post. I think Ramsey might have saved him. And then they had the other one where I think Neto hit a left foot shot, and Gabriel.
That came off Gabriel.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, I was watching the first chance that you referred to, and it really made me think about how margins define these games, right? Because that, in some ways, was very, very similar to the goal we scored, but the winner that we scored, because effectively that shot from Juan, I'm pretty sure his name is Juan, right? That shot was not going in, but it deflects off the underside of Ramsdale's leg and And I think like just deflects in a way that it very easily can deflect all the way into the corner, but it's just deflected, not we've got the rub of the green there basically. And essentially, we won the game in the same in a very similar situation where Lacazette's shot isn't going in, and it's just been touched in a way in which it's sort of curved and spun in. So it's margins with these big games. Do you mentioned the time wasting before, like because I often feel right in games like this is that if you're a team like Wolves, one of the real skills of a team like Wolves is they kind of stifle you. They kind of take the energy out of you a bit, and all of a sudden 60 minutes have gone. They're the away team. 60 minutes have gone, and you haven't scored, and you're like, oh, holy hell! How's this much of the game gone? But effectively scoring that early, I think the benefit was that for us, we were always trying to score a goal. We couldn't be in just kind of like, tactical second gear mode and waiting for the kill at some point. We had to really go for it. So this time wasting thing just weirdly crept in so early. And I think the frustration from Arsenal fans on this, right, is, we've had a few yellow cards, well, at least 2 that I can think of for time wasting kind of recently. Xhaka got one against Leeds. I'm pretty sure Gabriel got one against Wolves. And they were so blatant in their time wasting, weren't they? Like it was, I don't know if was it a masterclass to avoid the yellows, or do you think the referee just was really lenient?
Honestly, couldn't tell you, mate. It's a weird one. Like I always think when, like, okay, I'll say we're the bigger team and an away team comes to us and they go 1-0 up in the way that they did. And the referee, if the keeper's taking however many seconds he is over a goal kick, over, just releasing the ball, whatever it is, and it's pretty obvious what he's doing, right? I mean, I completely get why Sar's going to do that, but it's up to the ref to just book him in the first half, book him early in the second half, and then he doesn't do it anymore. He's not going to do it anymore. The game flows, and the same with any other outfield player who's doing it. So it's just, it was really weird. And I think I turned to you or turned to someone who I was standing next to, and I just said, I bet he's going to book the keeper in like the 89th minute, which is like typical of what seems to be like Premier League refereing standards, which just seem to have dropped or just haven't really improved or have dropped, have just been really, really bad for a long time. But wouldn't have been surprised if the ref had booked him really late on and just for a completely pointless booking at that point. Obviously that didn't happen because we ended up coming back into the game in the last 10 minutes. But yeah, like I said, I have no idea why. Like, I don't blame Wolves. Wolves should try everything they possibly can. Like you say, we've had a couple of bookings for time wasting. Obviously, the Xhaka one is questionable. I'm not really sure about that one, but I think it was Gabriel against Wolves, the away game. And I'm sure if we go 1-0, if we're 1-0 up at City or Anfield or wherever, absolutely 100%. I want our players to time waste. But then it's up to the ref to control the game, manage the game, and a yellow card to the keeper stops a lot of it, and he just didn't do it. So why? I'm not sure.
You say you like us to do. I know. Look, I agree with you. I think it's always important to that teams are smart in how they manage games, but I'm not really sure. Like I think if I was a fan and my team is time wasting, I mean, look, we're not peak Bayern Munich, right? So they've got a goal up, but they're time wasting for the 20th minute. Like I feel like that's just unnecessary,
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect us to do that, and I would. But at the same time, no, not from the 20th minute. But you're gonna it's just part of the game, isn't it? It's gonna be you take a few extra seconds when Ramsdale drops on the ball when he catches it. He's gonna take an extra couple of seconds. Probably gonna see a couple of players go down for injuries just to get a bit of treatment, whatever. Like all that kind of stuff is just normal, but when it's blatant, it's like the referee needs to take into account the situation of the game, the context of the game, or the context of the two teams that are playing each other, right? Wolves are coming to us, like you say, they probably didn't expect to go 1-0 up. So, and the ref should know that, the ref should realize that they're going to hold on for dear life to a 1-0. They'll probably hold on for a 1-1, really.
Yeah.
So 1-0 is like a fantastic result for them that's going into the 80th minute. But like you say, they were doing it from early in the first half, and ref didn't do anything to stop it, so they just carried on. And the really weird one was, I don't know what you thought about it, but the substitution thing, I still didn't really. I don't think I've even seen a replay of it, but the Jimenez substitution, what they were trying, I don't know if they made a mistake or someone behind us said the Arsenal, whoever holds up the board is the fourth official, but Arsenal, the stadium announcer called out the wrong number, but then he was being, I don't know if you heard him afterwards when he said something along the lines of, and finally leaving the pitch, Raul Jimenez, whoever left, whoever got subbed off. But that, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Weird.
It's very strange. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that, and not having watched the game again, apart from some of the key highlights, that is what it seemed like happened. Allegedly, the announcer announced the wrong name, and whether the fourth official did as well, I'm not sure. But I think Jimenez was trying to say, "I'm not supposed to be going off. I'm not going off," and that maybe he took the opportunity to milk it, a little bit and take that time. I've had a really interesting comments on I know I'm sort of segueing here. I was in one of the the comment kind of streams on an article on Football 365. It was, I saw someone who had written in and was really like, he was going mad, basically saying all these Arsenal fans booing Raul Jimenez, and they were so salty when Stoke fans were booing Aaron Ramsey, and I was like, how have you got there? Like, do you know what I mean?
Wow,
like, you are allowed to boo an injured player. You just can't boo because they got injured. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just because obviously, like the way all it seemed like in that instance with Raul Jimenez was just absolutely taking the piss in the time he took to get off the pitch. But that kind of nonsense aside, when we look at the Arsenal kind of performance, and there's no point, as you say, I think every Arsenal fan in the universe has seen every highlight. It's one of those games where you watch the highlights a million times over and over again. So no need for us to dissect stuff necessarily. But two things I want to talk about and get your thoughts on. Firstly, we talked all the way through last year, whenever we did our pods, even at the beginning of this year, about our fullback options. And I think we've all kind of talked about Cedric and the fact that we needed a Cedric upgrade, and Cedric wasn't quite good enough. Like, I think there were varying points around that to different degrees. So obviously everyone was very delighted when we got in Tomiyasu, and I think when this back five established themselves, the Tomiyasu, Tierney, White, Gabriel, Ramsdale back five, the feeling from a lot of our fan base has been that that's great and everything, but if someone gets injured, everything's going to be screwed. Now, Tomiyasu did get injured, and Tomiyasu's been a revelation, and he's missed probably more games than we thought he would. And Cedric has come in recently, but credit where credit's due, whether it's a system thing, whether it's down to the player, whether it's a combination of both, he's been really good.
Yeah.
What do you think that's down to? Is he playing better? Is it a system thing? What do you think?
To be honest, I've never been like, and I think me and you have been quite similar in this. Like, we've never really been that against Cedric. And I think it's Aaron who's, I don't know if he's had an issue with Cedric himself, but it's always the circumstances around his signing. And was it a Raul Sanyehi signing or whoever?
With Jorabati, and I think all that.
So we obviously have those funny chats.
Aaron is well into all that kind of stuff. Isn't it? Like, he'll find some kind of moral issue.
Yeah. We're signing Messi tomorrow. Oh man, no. His agent's like, well, yeah. So, So I've, like I said, I've never really, like, as a backup right back, consider, and again, I always put into context the sort of position that we've been in the league in the last couple of years and the level that we've been playing at in terms of kind of points on the board, as it were, and 2 8th place finishes. He's not a bad backup right back. No, he's not. He's not the answer for the future, obviously, because of his age. But in terms of why, like I say, I think he's a sort of 7 out of 10 kind of player, and I think that's the kind of performance he's delivering. He's generally pretty solid. I think he lacks a lot of pace, which I think I noticed on Thursday get exposed. I think I said at halftime, you saw we were 1-0 down at that point, and not that I was placing any blame on him, but I sort of felt like he got exposed a couple of times. People like Podence, who I really, really like, kind of very tricky player, exposed him a little bit. But yeah, like overall, he's been pretty solid. He's not a Tomiyasu, obviously, so can't wait for him to come back in. And a little bit concerning that he was on the bench against Brentford, I believe, and then wasn't on the bench at all. Obviously didn't play on Thursday. So yeah, can't wait to have him back. I think he's a massive, massive upgrade. But yeah, look, it's a good thing, right? If Cedric needs to play another game or two, and bearing in mind the next game's Watford, I don't know who we've got after that, but we should be able to manage.
Yeah, and Cedric, it's so important that our backup players turn up and can be counted. And I think we've talked about how that could be our biggest Achilles heel in this, in the run for the rest of the season. The fact that if you put our first team down on paper, actually we've got a pretty good first team. They all know what they're doing. They're all clicking, and it's that squad depth that perhaps we lack versus the likes of Man United, even Tottenham now. But that being said, the other point I wanted to discuss with you is it was substitutes that made the difference, ultimately in the end. And Pepe, let's talk about Pepe, right? Because we haven't talked about Pepe much this season because there's been nothing really to talk about, because he's not really, there's been times where I've forgotten he's even existed. I'll be honest with you, right? I've forgotten that he plays for us. From being our probably best attacking player in the second half of last season, from probably being kind of, overall pound for pound, you probably say that maybe, to going back into relative non-existence this year, falling completely out of favor, not even being someone who comes off the bench when we need to win. He's not, there's been games where we've just left him on the bench even when we've needed a goal. He's gone to African nations. Arteta said that he's come back a rejuvenated, completely different player. Like, he made a point of saying that someone that he can be counted on. It seems like he, his partner had a baby the night before the game. Yeah. And at 3 a.m. he's texted Arteta and he said, I want to play tomorrow. I want to make a difference. And he came on and he was brilliant. Like he did exactly what he had to do, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly, mate. I think he seemed to come on with a bit of a point to prove. Like you said, like Arteta's kind of alluded to, he seems like a bit of a different player at the moment. What it's down to, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the fact that he's not been getting minutes, and even when there's been opportunities for Arteta to bring him on in certain games, he's gone with Eddie or he's gone with other players. And he's not even been getting off the bench in certain games. So maybe he just came on and really has something to prove. But yeah, like he added a lot. Obviously, he scored the first goal, the equaliser, and he was involved in the second goal. But even if you take those two things away, he came on with he just came on and was very, very dynamic, I thought. And I felt like the times where I was most disappointed with him, not that I'm picking out any particular kind of holes in his performance, but the times where I was most disappointed with him was when he was receiving the ball kind of far wide on the touchline, and he felt like he wasn't really taking a player on. He seemed to be passing back or passing inside, but every time he was getting into the box and every time he was involved in what was going on in the box, he just looked really, really lively and really dangerous and really, really sharp as well, which obviously you saw from the goal. Like the goal was ridiculous. When you actually think about that goal, the first touch and the turn is very, very, very good. Like it's a very high quality turn, and then obviously the finish. I mean, it's not the easiest finish because he's hitting the ball on the turn. Obviously, he's not that far out from goal. You'd expect him to hit the target. You'd expect him to score. But even so, the whole kind of when you look at the sequence of events, as it were, that in terms of everything he does, the decision he takes to swivel on the ball and hit it kind of all very quickly, like one after the other. Like really, really impressed. And I kind of didn't really expect that from him based on, like you say, he hasn't really played that much this season. He's not really looked kind of on it when he has played. So, really, really nice surprise. And you mentioned Eddie as well. Similar, like the ball, the assist that, he provided for Pepe's goal. Again, the cutback, really, really good. I mean, not something you necessarily associate with Eddie, but it's frustrating with Eddie because you do feel like when he's been given the chance to start games, he's not really taking it. It feels like it's maybe just a bit too late for him. But look, if he can offer us, that kind of 20-minute cameo performance in games going forward where we might need him, then yeah, like we should take it because I don't think he's going to be around next season. So, and we haven't really got many other options going forward. So, if you can do that more often for us in those brief minutes that he gets, and that'd be really, really helpful, I think, because it could decide, these moments decided the game on Thursday, obviously in the last 10 or 15 minutes. So, yeah, what did you think about both of them?
I thought that, from a broader perspective, although winning the game was the most important thing, the second most important thing I think that came out of that game is two attacking substitutes making a difference in that way, because that is what I thought our biggest issue is going to be this season for the rest of the season. When I compare us to our rivals, that's the issue, looking at that bench and going, who can come on? or if we get any big injuries, like can Pepe step in, can Eddie step, like if something happens to Laca, as we've said before, and I think as we commented various times to each other during the game, Laca's performance overall, I think, does magnify what the benefit of having a top striker would be. There were lots of opportunities that you sort of think a top striker probably takes that. Look, notwithstanding the fact that Laca works so hard and he works so hard all game, and ultimately his persistence paid off. But again, my point is he is our number one striker, and you worry if he gets injured, can Eddie step in? So the fact that Eddie and Pepe made a difference for me is the second biggest thing to come out of that game. I like the fact that as well, I think particularly the Pepe situation, particularly that his performance, I think gives Arteta a real question to say, do I need to start him? Because I didn't think Martinelli was that great. And, it's always good for these players to have that competition, to know that, that someone can take their place.
It will be really interesting as well, because like you touched on it, in terms of rotation, but he obviously doesn't need to rotate because of fatigue, as it were, because of number of games in a week and stuff. Okay, there are going to be the weeks where the rearranged games come into play, and we've obviously got a lot of those to play. But at the moment we're playing one game a week, if that. So it'll be interesting, because obviously if he does bring Pepe in for, say, Watford, it's not because, unless there's an injury, obviously it's not because he needs to rest Saka or he needs to rest Martin. It's because he's actually impressed in like that 30-minute performance, and you wouldn't begrudge him, starting the next game based on what he gave us on Thursday. So that will be really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, totally. And let's look forward now, mate. So I think winning 3 out of our last 3 games, there are not many Arsenal fans in the world, I think, that would have said that we were going to win 3 out of 3, because Wolves are a good team. They rarely lose. We beat them twice. We beat Brentford in the middle. I know Brentford are struggling this season, but the point is, at this stage of the season, any team has something. Any team has a narrative. Any team has a story. So these days, it's very difficult to sort of say, even if you go and play a team like Burnley at this point know what they need to do to fight relegation. Sometimes fighting someone, playing someone who is 18th is harder than playing someone who is 11th. There's all these things to think about. And Wolves are fighting for the top 4. Brentford have been. So we've got those points. What we've also benefited over the last few weeks is it feels like every game week, if you like, one of our rivals has been dropping points,
which is kind of expected, because there's so many rivals. Like you said at the start, right? There's so many top 4 candidates. One of them is bound to drop points, because these are not 3 or 4 teams going for the league where you're just winning week after week, and it's the odd week that you slip up. And to be honest, I don't necessarily rate United, Tottenham, West Ham. I'm not saying I'm discrediting them. I think I'm not even sure if we'll finish top 4, and that whole question about that, but I'm not discrediting them, but just in terms of where they are in their kind of journey, as it were, and not so much West Ham, but Man United and Tottenham, obviously they've had they've changed managers midway through the season, so they're up and down. Their form is very, very inconsistent, and West Ham probably are the ones, although they've had a bit of a few bad results recently. They won again today, and they seem to be the ones that are being the most consistent. But again, it'll be interesting when their kind of Europa League factor comes back in, and what happens with that. So, and how they manage their squad and stuff. So it's all, we could get into the whole top 4 thing and where we think we're going to finish as a separate conversation. But the only point I was trying to make is I think it's just going to be like that every week. There's going to be obviously weeks where we drop points. We're not one of the best teams in the league, as in terms of Liverpool, City and Chelsea, or Liverpool and City at least. I think it's going to be very, very up and down, and because of the fixtures as well, and everyone's played different number of games, it's just going to keep, the order's going to keep changing every weekend, which is makes it really interesting. Makes it very, very hard for us, or hard in the sense it's quite nervous, isn't it? Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I mean, I feel when I listen to your voice, I listen to the subtext. It feels like you're being cautious.
I am, yeah.
And I think that's fair, and I think that would reflect probably what a lot of Arsenal fans are feeling, like myself included. Now, therefore, I'll be provocative in some ways, right? And just because I know that you're taking a cautious approach, you've got Lee Dixon saying Arsenal shouldn't be looking at Man United. Arsenal should be looking at Chelsea now.
Oh, did he? I didn't say that.
Right. So the other day, Chelsea played 25, got 50 points. Arsenal played 24, got 45 points. So in theory, Arsenal win that game in hand. Let's just say, argument, I know it doesn't all quite work like this. Arsenal win that game, they're 2 points behind Chelsea. Yeah. So, you've mentioned that, quite confidently that, Arsenal aren't quite at that level yet. But what do you I mean, what do you think about Lee Dixon's comments? Do you think that we should be looking there, or do you think we should still be just calming the fuck out and and just knowing our place a little bit?
Okay. I mean, I guess you put Chelsea in that category of Liverpool and City because not necessarily because of the points they've got. They're European champions at the end of the
world
day,
champions.
Exactly.
Well.
That as well.
Exactly.
I'm sure they'll be challenging for the title next season if they're not going to this season, obviously, so next season, whatever. So that's kind of why you put them in that bracket. In terms of points and in terms of current situation, I mean, if you're Arteta, you are looking. I mean, it's the age-old saying, you go game by game, right? So at the moment, game by game, we're in very, very good form. We've won our last 3. And there's absolutely no reason why Arteta won't be saying to the players, you just kind of keep plugging away and picking up these kind of wins by a goal. Like, we're not thrashing teams or anything. We're putting in good performances, but obviously we're not smashing teams and winning 3 or 4-0. Keep doing what you're doing and keep basically grinding out results. Who knows what will happen? As a fan, I'm personally not looking at third because I probably just don't want to set myself up for disappointment. I think I'm looking at fourth, and obviously I'm getting quite excited. I'm not going to say I'm not. You look at the table, you look at the games in hand, you look at, like I said, the form of some of the other teams, especially Man United, especially Tottenham. It's very up and down. You kind of feel like West Ham might fall away, but those words could come back to bite you. So everything seems to be on for us to finish top 4, right? But I just feel like we have got a little bit of a small squad. An injury to like a Saka, an injury to an Erdegaard, an injury to a Gabriel, whatever, like an injury to a Partey, an injury to a couple of those players all at the same time, things might get a bit, the form's going to change probably. And I can't see our form being as consistent as it is now through for the next 14 games. So that's kind of why I'm being cautious, and that's why I probably wouldn't be looking towards third at all. However, saying that, it's really interesting because, like I said, West Ham have got Europa League, United and Chelsea have both got Champions League. I mean, Tottenham haven't got any European competition, but Tottenham are going to be in there. But again, like, who knows what's going to happen with Conte? There's all these like factors which we're probably the most like settled side, and we've got the least number of games to play along with Tottenham. So lots and lots of factors, and it could be one injury that changes what changes it for us. One big injury somewhere could really, really impact our form. So
because I mean, if we look at the table, right, let's just recap on where we are, right? So let's forget. I agree with you. For argument's sake, let's just pretend it's not even. There's no point looking at Chelsea. Let's look at everyone who's competing for fourth, if you like, right? Everyone else. So Man United, 27 games, 47 points. West Ham, 27 game, 45 points, so 2 points below. Then you've got us, 24 games. So we've got three games in hand over those teams above us. And we are on the same points as West Ham. Yeah, so we're on the same points as West Ham with 3 games in hand. So 2 points behind Man United with 3 games in hand. And Tottenham are after us and they've played a game extra and they're 3 points below us. And Wolves have now played 26 games, so 2 points more and are 5 points away from us. So, it is, if you are, everyone keeps saying points on the board are important. You'd always take points on the board. That is true. But if you're Arteta and Arsenal right now, if you're rival teams, you're probably looking at this and saying Arsenal need to kind of bottle this in some ways, to be honest, because the thing is, the other teams, they still have hard games in the same way that we do. We've got hard games, but they still do too, right? So they're still, like you said, they're probably likely to drop more points. So do you think this now creates a weird pressure on us? Again, the bookies have us now as favourites to be in the top 4. They've got Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal as the top 4 currently. Do you feel that is, 1, correct? And do you think, 2, that's going to have an impact on the mentality of our players, that extra pressure?
Do I think it's correct? I mean, you can never really argue with the bookies because I'm not going to argue with the bookies, right? In terms of the, so it probably is. They would have obviously looked at fixtures to come. Like you say, everyone's got big games. Everyone seems to be playing each other in that kind of those four teams that we're in a group with. The other three teams, we're playing all of them, right? Between now and the end of the season, and we've got to play Chelsea. So I don't necessarily disagree with the bookies, but like I said, right, you go to the next round of fixtures, like next weekend, we play Watford. If we end up dropping points, that, or whatever,
which could happen,
which could happen, they're fighting for their lives. It all changes, and I'm sure the odds will change as well. So, I don't disagree with them at the moment, but I think it's going to be very, very up and down because it's so tight. What was your second question? Sorry.
What do you think? How do you think that's affecting the players? So now this kind of situation of, oh God, it's now in our hands completely.
I honestly, I just think with this group, I just feel like there's, we don't know, right? We don't know, but for everything that you're seeing, especially when we go to the games and like after the games, it's great when you win a game, right? And especially when you're great when you win a game in the last minute or in the 5th minute of added on time. But you get this sense of like, they're just like appreciating kind of every game and every win. And you look at players like Ramsdale, you look at players like Ben White, who've come from kind of, especially Ramsdale has come from like, he's been relegated twice, has come from kind of lower teams in the league or in lower leagues as well. White, who's obviously played championship football before at Leeds, and this is his first kind of big club, as it were. You look at some of those and some of those players and players that come up through the academy, they're almost like, this is just like, they're just on the journey, as it were. Like they're just on the journey and they're loving it. Every win is massive. You kind of see, especially like the win away at Wolves, the celebration after the game. The interaction with the fans, all of that.
But we're not allowed to celebrate.
Yeah, we're not allowed. I know there's naughty and all that, but And the impression that I'm getting is not really like the next big game that come, like, so we go to Watford, right? And then I can't remember who we play after that, but again, I think Liverpool away is coming up, right? And that's obviously a huge game. It's always a huge game. It's Liverpool and all of that. We're not really going there expecting to win. They are now back in the title race, but I don't think that game phases any of our players. Like we went to Liverpool in the League Cup and we picked up a very, very good draw. I think it was 0-0, right? After Xhaka got sent off. Was it Xhaka?
Yeah.
It was Xhaka. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And we were raving about that defensive display. They're going to be able to draw on that experience. And I kind of just feel like every game is like, a bit of an experience. Like we were talking about, when was the last time we won in the lot, like literally at the death and celebrated a win, celebrated a goal like that. And we couldn't really think of the last one. And it's like this is their kind of first time as well, almost. It's their first time going through that experience. So this is like really kind of galvanizing, bringing the squad together. They really seem to all kind of get along and like each other. All of the crap from like the last 3 or 4 years with all of the disharmony between players and manager and players not kind of turning up and doing what they should be doing and acting as professionals. All of that seems to have just gone. And you've got players now that really seem to love playing for this club and love everything about what we're doing at the moment. So So I kind of feel like for the next 14 games, I don't even know if they're really going to be that phased. And I think when you're like Saka's age and when you're Smith Rowe's age, like what is there to be phased about? Like Saka's taken a penalty and missed in a Euros final and cost, all the 3 that missed all cost us. But the most pressure penalty and like how much kind of would he have gone through off the back of that? So like at 20 years old, he's already gone through that experience and come back, and he's not like he's not turned up this season. He's been fantastic this season again. So like I think when you look at all of that and the age of the squad and everything, I think they're just taking it in their stride basically. And I think they'll just take every single game in their stride. And I don't think like we're obviously not, we're going to have disappointing results between now and the end of the season. And it is about how they bounce back from those. And I just feel like expectations are being managed a little bit. It's almost like, game by game basis, see what happens. And I think it's quite good that the target was never top 4. It's not like we were United where the pressure is on to get top 4, obviously, but it's not like we went and bought an 80 million pound striker in January. And so we're doing that with the intention of absolutely we have to get top 4. Like that investment, we have to get the returns on that investment. That hasn't happened. So it's kind of like there's a few things that, I think you could look at and say, like the pressure isn't necessarily on. And I just feel like, like I say, they're taking it in their stride. They're loving it. All of these players, and it's almost like, let's see what happens. Let's just take it game by game and see what happens.
I think that's a fantastic analysis of the mindset of the squad. I really couldn't agree more. I think your point about the things that Saka would have gone through, for example, for him to draw on that kind of experience, and at this age, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, exactly like you say, they're not scared. They're fearless. Like, what have they got to be scared of? Is that question? If we don't get top forwards, it's not the end of the world.
It'll be disappointing. Of course, it'll be disappointing. It'll be disappointing for everyone. It will be disappointing for Arteta, the fans, and I'm sure there's going to be loads of fans that will be coming for these players, coming for Arteta. But, it is what it is, right? If we don't get top four, it just means that we either fell away a little bit, or there were other teams that just ended up going on a bit more of a consistent run. Man United should be easily finishing in the top four with the squad that they've got, whether they change their manager midway through the season or not. Like, there's absolutely no way they didn't spend the money that they spent, not just this summer, but previous summers and previous transfer windows. Like, they bought Jadon Sancho for how much was he? Like
85 million.
Right, there you go. And Rafael Varane, one of the best centre-backs in Europe for the last 6-7 years, whatever it's been, won countless Champions Leagues and La Ligas. So, there's going to be disappointment if we don't get top four. But again, I said from the start, and you said you clearly noticed I'm being quite cautious about it. I'm excited. I'm buzzing for like you say, there is this buzz about, you're looking forward to the next game now to see what happens. You're looking at the calendar to see when's the next home game, because I want to go back.
Exactly.
It's very, very different. Not different, but it's really, really nice going to games now. It's a proper buzz before, during, and after, if we win. Let's just enjoy that and kind of see what happens.
I'm with you, man, because it's again going back to the point. At this point of the season, every game has a narrative. Like, everyone's kind of in a very specific spot, and I think even your point about obviously we're playing Liverpool soon. I think what's really exciting about that game is first of all, I think our players and our manager, and I really love how Arteta said this in some of his interviews when we've been beaten badly by Liverpool. He has said, he's not made excuses. He has said, they are playing at a level above us, right? No excuses. We could have lost even more. That's the level that we need to get to. And he's very clear about that, right? It's not excuses. It's not nothing. And I think players know that, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the interesting thing is now when it comes to looking at the fixtures and how timings fall, if we keep going the way that we are going, whereby it feels like there's a good automatic to this team, there's a good spirit, there's good energy, we're winning games at the moment that we should win or could hopefully win, we'll put ourselves in a position where we can probably go to and play teams like Liverpool and really have it as a free hit.
Hopefully.
And that can only help us because Liverpool have now, for them, for example, I'm just using them as an example, the title race is wide open now, right? They can win the league. So they've got a lot that they are playing for now. They're not just, and they can obviously easily win the Champions League as well. They are one of the top contenders for the Champions League. So they'll have a lot that's going on. There's a lot, and obviously they're a top professional side, and it might not affect them. But it's nice for us to try and get ourselves in a situation where when we go and play them, the pressure is off. If we lose, it's not going to be pivotal to whether we're going to finish fourth or not. It's just it's a nice tap. So some of these things hopefully can, if we can set up each game with the right narrative, if we can kind of come into it in the right way, then brilliant. And I guess, on that point, we've got Watford this weekend. This again is interesting, right? Like, Roy Hodgson's coming to Watford. They looked almost a certainty to go down. At the moment, they sort of look like they are one of the favourites to go down still. They've played in their last 5, they've lost 3, won 1, drawn 1. But their last 3 games, 1 lost, drawn. I think that's the order it goes. But again, it's at that point of the season, right, where you play a team who are in that bottom 3, who you don't necessarily, you never know, right? You never know. And Man United just saw that you can't take these games for granted, and they've just drawn 0-0 with Watford. Obviously, that's a disappointing result for United. They still should be thinking about winning that. But although Watford's last home game was a complete hammering by Crystal Palace, I mean, I'm not convinced this is going to be a walk in the park. I mean, what do you think?
I watched bits of that United game, and they actually looked quite decent. I've not watched much of Watford, so I wouldn't be able to say, you know, kind of obviously points wise they've been poor, but I wouldn't be able to say how they've really played since Hodgson took charge. But yeah, they looked like they created a few openings. Dennis looks like a dangerous player. Ismail Assar looks like a really dangerous player, and I know he's been rated highly for a while. And they do seem to have a few players that cause United problems and could cause us problems. So I am a little bit wary. However, I'm really confident about this game, and this might come back to bite me in the ass. But I think we're gonna like put a few goals past them, and I think we're gonna smash them. I think we're gonna score quite early, and I think we'll just kind of go from strength to strength. And I can see like Saka, Martinelli doing bits. So I'm pretty confident, and I'm normally not. I'm normally cautious generally before games. Even if it's home games that I expect we should win, I'm normally cautious of my prediction, but I'm going to go 3-0 to Arsenal.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm supportive of that logic, to be honest, right? Because actually, I think we've done okay against Watford away in recent years. I think there was a period where it didn't look like that was the case, but I think it has been. And when we look at Watford, they're a team that you think that Arsenal should be okay at playing, right? They've conceded 47 goals, which is the third worst. And, you know, take into account Leeds have conceded about 1 million in the last week. So, you know, they're the Leeds, obviously the worst. Then you've got Norwich who, you know, bloody hell. I mean, Norwich have been like a disaster for the first half of the season, at least. And then you've got Watford, 47 goals. There's a lot of goals to have conceded and not scored too many, for them. So, It's a team where we really should be being. They're not going to want to play. We're not a team that Watford would want to play right now. In a situation that they are in a case where we're fairly settled. We sort of know what we're doing. We sort of got an automatic. So everything's on paper for the sort of win that you've described. But everything was on paper for us to hammer Everton when we went and played Everton. Do you worry that this could be on the back of 3 wins? Do you think like there's any chance of that kind of?
There is, and like I've said it right. There's going to be ups and downs. I don't think we're not going to keep up that form. 3 wins on the bounce, obviously, for the rest of the season. There's going to be games where you drop points. I think like the Everton comparison, it's a fair point. Like that game felt like it's weird because when you look at their results. If you look at their results, if you've seen it, I don't know. Yeah. I think they've won a game recently, but it's basically like losses and draws all the way through, and then you've got the win against us like right in the middle, which is like really annoying when you look back now. Like the Everton result was a bit of a weird one. Like it wasn't a great performance, obviously, but it was like this. It was Goodison Park, a night game under the lights. The goals they scored were ridiculous. Last minute winner, Damari Gray, all of that. So you can. And I feel like they've put that behind them, right? They put that and the Old Trafford defeat behind them. So I just think the atmosphere is going to be very, very different. I think we can pretty much quieten their fans quite early on. I do think we're going to score early. I mean, I'm saying this, who knows what's going to happen? Like every single game, who knows what's going to happen? But I just feel like, they don't really score that many goals, as you touched on this. They're conceding a lot. They've conceded a lot in the last few games. I'm just pretty confident. I think we'll dominate and we should go and win. This is the kind of game that we do have to go and win if we're going to finish top 4. Like you say, there might be some free hits along the way, like the Liverpool game potentially. But to kind of keep our position, essentially, to make sure we're in a strong position when it comes to those games in hand. We need to win like these sorts of games. And then, there's going to be tougher games where you might go to like Spurs away and sort of take a draw, or, United come to us and a draw wouldn't be the worst result if we're already in a good position and we're a few points clear of them.
And that's cool. And it could be that, right? Like, so if you look at hypothetically, right, if we win against Watford, Man United have got Man City, West Ham have got Liverpool.
This weekend, have they?
This weekend.
Oh, right, okay.
Or up next. That's their next fixture. I presume it's going to be this weekend.
Okay.
So it is possible that Arsenal will be in 4th place above West Ham and Man United with 3 games in hand over both teams.
Yeah. It's
possible. So that looks, as a complexion, that looks crazy. That basically looks on the face of it that, we could, I don't know, lose to Liverpool, lose to Chelsea, lose to I don't know, Leicester. I don't know. I'm just making up, but and still be in theory. I know again it doesn't work like this, but again I'm sort of. I guess the spin I'm trying to put. I'm in a similar place to you. I don't want to get overly excited about this. The problem is, it feels like we've got ourselves in a situation now where if we don't do it, even though that wasn't the target necessarily for some of us at the start of the season, if we don't do it, it would require us actually losing quite a few football matches from now to. And then I wonder, then regardless of whether we finish 5th or 6th, and the situation is that actually that's okay because that's progress from last year, does the amount of matches or the amount of points that we would need to drop from now and the end of the season for that to happen, does that suddenly spin a completely different lens on Arteta's progress?
Potentially, it's hard to say because it depends on the nature of the collapse, as it were. If it like we said, right, if there's a few key injuries, that can really change things. It's obviously going to change things, and our form might turn as a result of that. If United seem to go on like a crazy run, okay, they got City this weekend, but if they do end up going on a really, really good run, which again, like I still maintain this point, they should be winning more games than what they're winning now. They should be sitting in the sort of top 3. Like they should be challenging for the top 3, not battling with us for 4th, basically. So, that's the level of quality that they've got in their squad, in their team. If they end up going on a bit of a run, Tottenham seem to, they beat City, they smashed Leeds the other day, but they're very up and down. But then again, if they go on a bit of a run, it could just be, a couple of teams or a team, obviously, just is a little bit more consistent than us, even though we seem to be the most consistent team at the moment. That could change. There's still there's a lot of games to play, to be honest. So there's like 40 odd points to play for around that. So yeah. Potentially, if it's a case of like what kind of happened with Emery, where we get to the last few games and there's 2-3 games left and we needed whatever it was, a point, or I can't remember how it all worked out now, but a certain number of points that would have secured us top 4, and we just completely collapsed and it all went to shit, and that Palace home game and everything else that happened. If that happens, then that's worrying. I don't see it being like that. I just see it being like up and down every kind of game week, every weekend. There's going to be games where we drop points. There might be a team or a couple of teams that are a bit more consistent than us, and they're still good teams. Like United are still a very good team. I say good team. They've still got very good players. Like I say, they should be higher. Tottenham have got very, very good players. Harry Kane and Son, again, like it just seems to have like rejuvenated for whatever reason. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see their goal the other day? The last goal?
No, I didn't.
I was just like, Harry Kane dropping deep and playing this ridiculous, really, really good ball over the top. Son made the run, perfect timing of the run, perfect ball, cut out the defenders. Son just like one touch and like finished it. And they have that link up again, and they seem to be like wanting to, Kane looked a bit disillusioned early in the season. He's not anymore. He clearly wants to, I don't know if he's playing for a move or whatever, but so loads of factors, loads of things could change it, could swing it. So who knows what the reason might be if we don't do it. But of course it will be disappointing. But I think if we don't finish top 4 this season, I'll still be very, very happy when you look at I say that now, it depends on how it happens, but I think there's loads and loads of positives. So I think I'll look at those things.
It's important to keep that level head, isn't it? Look, I agree. Look, I think it's going to be it's going to be an amazing end to the season. I think so many things are going to go down to the wire. At the end of the day, we've got Leeds and Everton as our last 2 home games. Both those teams could be battling relegation. Realistically, Everton are bang in trouble in terms of their fixtures. They've got, my friend pointed it out to me yesterday. I think all of the teams, they still have to play every team in the top 8.
Oh, wow.
But
to be fair, it's only just gone past for us, I suppose, because we've got 3 games. I keep thinking like we're not really that far. Like we're 14 games left. I mean, but okay, fair enough. So they've got some very tough games left. Yeah.
Okay, mate. Well, anyway, look, I think that's probably it for today. I think we've covered a lot. We're obviously really looking forward to the Watford game. I think both you and I are pretty positive, and I think we.
What was your prediction?
To be honest, I might match it. I'm gonna go for 3-1.
Arsenal.
3-1 to Arsenal.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm going to go for 3-1 to Arsenal.
Okay.
I think, and I think that I think it's a Pepe game. I'm not sure if he'll start, but I think he'll score. I think he's good against this type of opposition, man. Like he's good, he's tricky, he's skillful, he gives problem. I think really good defenders, you know, probably have the skills, everything in their locker to deal with players who are that kind of, you know, that. But I think sometimes when he comes on against a certain level of fullback, I think he gives them all kinds of problems. So I think that'll be interesting, and I'm really intrigued to see how we line up as well. It's nice having some days, you know, where we've got to kind of recover. It's a good few days before the game, right? So hopefully we'll see Tomiyasu again. But Cedric's been playing well, so it's not the end of the world if not. But
yeah,
cool, mate. So I think not sure when we'll record next, but hopefully it will be after the Watford game and not too far after. So look, thank you everyone for joining us.
Oh, and one more thing, mate. Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, I'm.
Oh, and you know what? We should also
23
mention...
tomorrow. Huh?
Yeah, sure. Reverse the numbers and add a bit more, right? What was I going to say? What was I going to say? Yeah, it's been. I think we've missed the date, you know, which is kind of annoying. But it's been a year, just over, since we started this. So
it has. Yeah. It has. I'm like 57 episodes or something like that later, almost 60, I think, with some of the off the cuff. So it has. It's been quite a fun journey, and we've got things planned, haven't we? I'm not trying to be over the top and extravagant, but we've got some rebranding going on in the background. We've got some ideas to just, you know, bring different types of discussion to the podcast, but hopefully not too far away from, you know, our core values, really, which is the fact that at the end of the day, like, all we are, right, is a bunch of people who go to the games, and we're not tactical experts. We're not training to be coaches, but we're trying to bring what we see at the games to the people who necessarily can't make games, not for no lack of trying, you know, but you know, can't do it. And so, you know, that's where we're coming from. And you know, we really enjoy the support from everyone, and it's been a really fun year. I think, you know, if we reflect on the year, it's just been it's just been really fun.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing where it goes. But yeah,
exactly.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. I've got a week left of unemployment before I start my new job, so every day is a Saturday. So I'm going to carry on drinking.
Enjoy.
All right, mate.
Nice one, mate.
All right. See ya. Bye.